Hi there everyone, this is Razorflamekun, and today I am going to be playing Dungeon Hearts for you. I'm going to be playing normal. This game is, there's going to be a lot to explain at the beginning. So, whenever you're ready to begin. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Nope. First time. That screen normally doesn't appear. And neither is that. Alright, so at the beginning you have 4 heroes here on the left, you have a Fate Stream here, and then you have 24 battles you have to go through. So it's a match 3, so you basically just want to move stuff around. When you combine 3 you get a diamond like this, that is called a striker. When you hero striker, when you get 3, you get something that's called a hero super striker, which you can then do to clear the entire screen and do a big combo like that. So the main object of the game is to deplete all of the opponent's HP, and when you do that, you move on to the next round. In addition, you also don't want any of these, which are called enemy strikers. You don't want any of them to reach your side, because to reach here, because then it'll actually cause damage to you. After each battle, you get this little intermission here where you just match match the stars, and you get levels. And the levels unlock down here, down at the bottom here. They unlock different abilities that you can use with your heroes. You'll see them towards the end, and I'll explain them more towards the end. At the beginning it's pretty slow, but once you get towards the middle, they're going to start introducing a lot more of different things that you're going to have to deal with. And then I can explain the combo system really quick. The combo is when you do more of the different colors of heroes involved with their different color strikers, you get more damage done, and you get a higher combo, which multiplies the damage that's done. So that the speed run focuses on getting as high of a combo as you can, so that you can pretty much one-shot. And then that little explanation there explains some hexes, which apparently are going to appear in this. I'm not used to seeing those because I already have everything unlocked. But in this, you can see it's starting to get a lot more complex, because we have enemy chargers now, which are the circles, and it starts introducing another facet of difficulty to the game. This game is known for being difficult, so much so that the actual normal is actually hard, and then hard is actually very hard, like brutally hard. So on the screen you're gonna start seeing the hexes, or the hexagons. Those just impart negative effects onto your heroes whenever they reach the circles here. So you don't want to reach circles, because they're all the hexes are going to be negative effects, and some of them are very bad. There's one that you might there's two. One that you might see later on that's going to be called a bomb hex. Basically what it does is when it reaches here, it fills the entire row with the enemy charges, and then if you have another enemy charger that reaches there, it'll an enemy striker that reaches there, it'll deal massive damage to you. Also, anything. Pretty soon we're gonna start to see. We're gonna actually start seeing things that you can that you're not gonna be able to move, because as of right now you can move everything. but within a couple levels, we're going to actually start seeing enemy chargers and your own chargers that cannot be moved, and those are going to be the squares. Oh, hello, Forager announcement. Thank you. Even though I'm in offline mode, it still appeared. Also, the way the Super Strikers work is the more Hero Strikers you have on the field, the higher the combo is going to be, and the more damage you can do. One of the complaints that people have of this game is that when you're this was actually a mobile port. That this is a port of a mobile game, so it's sometimes you're not able to grab things and drag them as you want to because for some reason it just doesn't do it. It's just really strange. It's just something happened, but now as you can see, we have the squares. Those cannot be moved, and that's just another example of a difficulty increase. And you'll see the difficulty increase throughout the entire run. So just looking for a lot of the same color, and then different colors so that we can get higher combos so that we can defeat the opponents quicker. As of right now, I'm the only runner of this game, and as such, I am the world record holder for this category. Before coming to this event about 5-6 days ago, I actually brought the world record down from a 40-something to a 35-19. As of right now, just because I don't have the same upgrades, and I'm getting these tutorial messages, this run's not going to PB. Just because of those. This game isn't actually very optimized, but just because of those facts, I can tell you this doesn't have a chance to PB, unfortunately. One other thing I should probably mention is that the Super Strikers also cannot be moved because they're square, and anything that's square in this game can't be moved. So now you see that the enemy Strikers also cannot be moved. Within the next couple of battles, we're going to actually get the first boss of the run. There's going to be 3. There's going to be the final boss, there's going to be the mid-boss, and then, which actually, this first boss called the mid-boss, even though it's not the middle of the game, go figure. It's going to be a battle after this, I believe. So when you don't have the Super Striker enabled, you're really able to just use normal enemy or normal strikers to actually deal quite a bit of damage. There's first hit. That's fine though. So I'm going to use an ability here, which is actually not an ability you want to use because it slows everything down. And in a speedrun, that's not something you want to do. But and when you get behind, as you can see there, when you get really behind, the game, the Fate stream, which is what the 4 bars here is called. When you start getting behind, like you start getting stuff all up here, that can get really difficult to deal with, and then you can use abilities like that, because almost every ability gets rid of the entire field. So if you're really behind, you can actually use an ability, it doesn't matter which ability, you can just use any of them to get rid of the entire field, and then you can just restart from that. Also there you saw, the armored hexes for the first time. Those take 2 hits. Anyways, as of right here, this is the first boss. It's the basic boss. No, there's gonna be no extra stuff they have to deal with this boss. You just have to deal with the hexes. This actually brings me to the next point. Hexes can also be armored. So the main thing you want to do with bosses is to try and get super strikers if you can, because they clear the field, and also deal a lot of damage if you have a lot of stuff on the field. And a lot of the bosses tend to have a lot of stuff on the field a lot of the time. Like this one, you can see it's just a whole giant mess with a lot of stuff on the field. But I mean, you're also really able to just get a lot of stuff really easily. And that's one of the reasons why some bosses are a lot easier than others, and some are much harder than others. It just depends on which one you get, because you're not guaranteed to get the same fights I am, because every single time you play this game, you face a different set of opponents every single time. So in that sense, it's kind of a roguelike, but it's not really, because it's only from a set. Each fight is generated from a set list. Anyways, that's first boss down. As of right now, there's going to be a lot less to explain, because I've already explained most of it. One thing to mention is when you do any combo, like even the basic ones, the screen freezes for a moment. That you can use to really help you get stuff if you really need it. Anyways, there is actually something I do need to explain here. You're starting to get, in this, you're going to start to get enemy strikers that you have to destroy with a certain color. For example, this one has to be killed with a green, so you have to use a green hero striker in order to be able to in order to be able to remove that from the field. And later on, we're also going to get ones where you actually have to. You're going to get enemy strikers in hero chargers, so the little circles. But you'll get the enemy skull inside of those as well. And and then if you don't get rid of those by turning them into a charger, then you will actually get damaged when it reaches the end. There's the bomb hex. So this enemy is going to have bomb hexes that you're going to have to deal with. And if I were to have to rate the most dangerous, I would actually rate the bomb hex as the one of the most dangerous hexes that you can get in the game. And this one actually has armored. They're also armored, so you have to be careful of that because you have to hit them twice. So, I mean, this game's pretty. It's interesting, but it's also very difficult. One thing to mention: whenever you see that little animation where all the pictures appear, that means you got a 5 combo or higher. I believe they also appear sometimes in a 4.8, 4.6 combo, but normally you have to deal a 5 times combo or more in order to get that to appear. This hex here is the haste hex. It actually increases the speed of the phase stream, and that's actually also pretty very detrimental too. I just want to point out the composer. The composer's name is Sam English. The music in this game is very well done, and you actually get the entire soundtrack with the game when you buy it. It's available on Steam if you want to get it. It's been on Steam for 6 years, or since like 2013. So, and it's like $10, 5, 6, 10. Somewhere around there. I honestly don't remember because I bought it so long ago. But it's if you're interested in buying the game, it's a really good game. It can get a bit repetitive over time, but if you really enjoy the game, repetitiveness I don't really mind because it just makes the game better over time. Whenever the enemy, all the enemy attacks, like the squares and everything, get cracked like this, it means that he's low on HP. That's basically what that means. But pretty soon, there's going to be 2 more things that is going to need to be explained. Although I already explained one of them. The last one that's going to need to be explained is that we're going to get enemy attacks that require 3 hits to destroy. I don't know what the game calls them. I just call them super armored. And those are ones that you really are gonna have. That's when they just really start to throw the book at you in this game. There's also this enemy also has the freeze hex, which is this hex here. What that does is it freezes a hero, all of the heroes, everything you can do with that specific hero, and it renders everything you can do with that hero completely useless for a period of time, and that's another very devastating effect that you want to try and avoid at all costs. So as you might notice, towards the when you get towards the later levels, it actually gets a lot harder to set up chains and stuff or combos. It just becomes a lot harder, so you end up seeing a lot of single attacks. Over the course of the speed run, you want to try and avoid these, but when you get towards the end, especially if you don't have any of the upgrades unlocked, there's one that reduces the fade stream speed by 6%, which is if you want to run this category or any category, that's one I would recommend to get. It just, since I'm running without that, it just, yeah, it can get really hectic. And as you notice, I've already gotten hit several times. If I was playing this at home with a 6% decrease in speed, that would actually be quite a lot rarer. Because in this case, since I don't have it, it's 6% faster than I'm used to. The number that keeps appearing in the swords is the number of battles we have left. That number, actually, you need to add 1 to that because the final boss is not counted in that. But we're coming close to the second boss. The second boss also has a name. It's not mid-boss, it's something else. I don't know what it's actually called. But here is, we now are introduced to the enemy strikers that have and hexes that require 3 hits. I'm not too worried about getting hit because getting hits doesn't really do much unless you have a bunch of these enemy chargers. Then it deals a lot more damage. But the other thing you might notice is that it also destroys the entire, when you get hit by an opponent, it destroys that entire hero's line in the phase stream, and that's something that can be detrimental. If you get hit at the wrong time, you can lose a bunch of chargers, and you basically lose everything on the line. So that's something you don't want to have happen a lot of the time. So I think it's coming up next, we have the second boss. Over the course of the speedrun, you also want to keep leveling up your heroes because every single time you level them up, the amount of damage they deal does get higher, slightly. And they also get access to more of the abilities you see at the bottom of these. So this is the second boss. There are certain enemies you want to see, and this one looks like it's one of the ones you want to see because it seems to be very easy to set up super strikers on this boss. Yeah, the boss is already almost dead. Yeah, just took 3 hits, and that's like an optimal boss that you want to see in a run. Is it takes 3 hits, because a lot of the bosses have too much HP to deplete in 1 or 2 hits. 3 hits is the least amount of hits I've been able to get on a boss and still kill it. So that's if that was a speed run at home, that would be an optimal. That would probably be close to a gold split if this game actually used splits. It doesn't. Timing in this game is a little bit odd. Let's just put it that way. And for real time, it's odd. But timing for this game is actually done with in-game time. So for now, since there's not much else I'm going to need to explain until the last boss, I'm just going to let you guys enjoy the music for now. So one thing I actually could explain is each of the heroes is a specialist in a specific area. The top one is the fighter. The middle, the blue one's the healer. The yellow one is like a mage. And then the bottom one is like a ranger, debuffer type character. So this ability you have to time whenever you see the little white stars. You have to time them, and it's actually really hard to time. I just used the ability to get everything off the screen because the screen was starting to get really full towards this end of enemy attacks, and I wanted to get rid of them so that I didn't have to deal with them, because I was going to be in a world of pain if any of them started reaching the end, because they would just start a chain reaction that could end up with one of the heroes dying. And that's something I hope you don't see in this run, but if one of the heroes dies, all of their chargers and all their strikers are destroyed, and all of their chargers turn this a specific color, like a gray, like they get grayed out and they turn to stone. And when that happens, you're not able to they basically become another enemy charger, because you have to get rid of. You basically have to click to get rid of them, and it's just a real pain. So you don't want that to happen, because it just really starts hurting you towards the end. But right about now is when you can start to see the difficulty actually being, the game actually starting to get really difficult. And then if you imagine that this being difficult, hard is, they just add a lot more of everything. And it's also faster. The speed of which everything goes along the fade stream just is a lot faster in that difficulty. And that's the reason why hard was not chosen to be submitted to this marathon, because it's not marathon safe at all. I've only completed that difficulty twice, once when I was casually playing it and once for a speed run, and I've not been able to complete it any other time since then. Okay, so about when we reach the final boss, the average level of the party is going to be about 65, 70, between there. This enemy I know very well because it has this set pattern, and this set pattern is actually pretty bad. It's not optimal for a speedrun because it takes a lot of time. Because it does this, and then it does a section where there's a lot of attacks. And a lot of attacks they haven't seen for a while either. So if you're not prepared for this fight, it can actually kill you outright. Especially on the harder difficulties. He also has a vast array of different hexes he can use as well. The blind is pretty annoying to deal with. You also have colored chargers. You have the colored enemy chargers, and you have the colored enemy strikers as well. So it's like they're just piling everything on. That was nice getting those two enemies and colored ones there. There we go. So right about now, I'm actually going to start explaining the final boss, because during the final boss, I'm actually not going to be commentating at all. So the final boss, his name is the Dark One. There's a few things you're going to want to watch out for when you fight him. First is, during his fight, there's a variable speed. The Fate Stream speed will speed up and slow down during the course of the fights, and you'll notice that. Also, he has a lot of health, and if you're not ready for his health, you can get really screwed, because the fight, is going to last can last for a long time. But he also has some phases that allow you to get the superchargers really easily if you're able to, and then there are also parts in his pattern where he actually stops a phase stream entirely. So there won't be any scrolling, and that's usually before a part where there's going to be a lot of attacks from him. He also has access to a special kind of hex that is called the Nether Hex. When it hits you, it will inflict at random 3 different hexes, and that by itself is extremely dangerous. You really need to watch out for that and get rid of them as they appear. They also are always going to be take 3 hits when they appear. Furthermore, as I said before, when right away, you're going to notice that there's going to be parts immediately after after he stops the Fate Stream where there's going to be a lot of attacks that he's going to have lined up, and if you don't have a Super Striker or something else ready, then you can die very easily, especially on hard. And the final boss is the reason why I've not beaten hard as many times as I have, as many times as I could have, because he just kills, the final boss just decides to kill it for me, and it's happened a pretty substantial number of times. I'd give you an estimate, but it's more than 10. Another thing that we're going to be doing on the final boss is we're going to be unloading these 2 abilities pretty quickly. Once the fight actually begins, we're going to be unloading those very quickly. So I'm not going to have time to explain them. I can explain this one though. Basically what it does is when you click on it, it'll give you a certain amount of time to click on as many of your hero chargers as you can. It'll turn them into strikers. So that's an ability that can be very powerful if you get a lot of strikers out of it, which you actually can. I've gotten I think the most I've gotten is 48 strikers out of that ability. Anyways, upcoming next is going to be the final boss, so enjoy the music. So time is not yet. It'll be when the results screen shows up. In terms of the ending, I don't know. You'll have to ask the developer about this. I actually don't know what happens at the end. Yeah, I don't know why. And time. So if any of you are interested in running this game, there's a speedrun.com page that you'll be able to ask, and if you have any questions, you can ask in the forums there, or you can find me on Twitch at Razorflamekun. So if any of you want to learn the game, it's not hard. I learned this game in about a week. It only takes 5 hours of practice at most to play this difficulty. So Other than that, thank you for having me, and I will be back in about an hour for another run with Dr. Mario Online RX. So see you guys then.